I hope that I was destined. This a true story. Everybody with me loaded. True story. I don't think they ever noticed. True story. I'm good at hiding my emotions. True story.
Welcome back to Sell It with Belle, episode 35, where we continue to build knowledge and perspective through the story of our guest. I'm here with Danielle Levy. How's it going, Danielle?
Everything's good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for coming on. I know it was kind of sporadic, last minute, but I'm happy you were able to make it.
Yeah, those are the best episodes. So,
right?
Yeah.
I find it, you're either dealing with people who need to be notified a week in advance. Other times you're dealing with people who are ready to go just on the spot, and you showed you're ready to go on the spot because it's been less than 24 hours.
It has been, yeah.
But you are a realtor in Toronto.
Yes.
So obviously you've been experiencing these kind of hectic times in the market and probably just in Toronto in general.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely really weird right now. It's really slow. I've been talking to all my other realtor friends, and we've all been complaining about it. It's a strange time, definitely.
Right. I'm sure we'll get into kind of the whole pandemic real estate phenomenon, but I'm kind of interested on everything before real estate. If you kind of explain where you kind of grew up and kind of the earlier life of Danielle.
So I was actually born in Toronto, and my parents eventually moved to Vaughan, but essentially the same thing. And I have been in the real estate industry since I was 15 years old. So I kind of got experience before I became a realtor. It wasn't always my dream, though, to get my real estate license, so it wasn't the actual plan. But I worked for offices, I worked for teams, I worked for, broker of records, developers, property managers, and I still didn't want to get my license. But I ended up going to university, finishing my BA, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to go to law school and, become a lawyer. And then last minute, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my license. So in my early 20s, I ended up getting my license, and it's been a ride, honestly. Yeah.
Right. And introduced to the field at 15 years old. I mean, that's really young. That's the beginning of high school. Yeah. So what kind of made you want to get into the field then?
So it's really funny. My mom was helping me find jobs online. She's like, do you want to work in a clothing store? I'm like, really, I always wanted an office job. And she's like, oh my god, look at this one, it's in Remax. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna get this job, you have to be 16. So I ended up applying, and another agent hired me to work as his personal assistant. And then when I became 16, I started working the actual office job. So she actually found me the job. I kind of owe it to my mom.
Mm-hmm. What did that job kind of
entail?
Yeah.
So lots of paperwork. We had to learn how to do offers, which was, that gave me major anxiety at such a young age. We have different type of paperwork, with price changes, amendments, all that stuff. So, it was all just the contracts, the office type of work, the picking up the phone calls, booking the appointments. It was, now that I look at it, it's super easy. But when I used to train girls about 6 years ago, a lot of people couldn't keep up.
Right. When you're that young and you kind of have to work, no one wants to work anyways when you're that young, really.
Yeah.
I didn't, at least. Where were you kind of at in terms of the work? Did you kind of just want out of it? Because I know you mentioned you went on to further get a degree. Yeah. So what was your stance there? So
I've been working, obviously, since I was 15. I've had more than 2-3 jobs at the same time. So even when I was in university, I was always working. And I even worked in the nightclub life. So if I wasn't working during the day, I was working at night. So I always tried to keep myself busy. Law school is still always going to be an option for me, just in case, God forbid something doesn't work out with real estate, even though it has been. But, it's always going to be there. I don't know. I'm happy I still did my BA. I didn't think that I would end up getting my real estate license. I swear, every time I was sitting there at the office, I'm like, there's no way I'm getting my real estate license. I'm never going to be one of these realtors. And then I ended up getting it.
Right.
Yeah.
You just threw out law school out there and out of nowhere. So where did that come into play in your high school kind of career? Obviously you're at the office. So when did that interest kind of come into fruition?
When did real estate become an interest?
To get go into law?
That came actually after first year. I completely switched my program. I was going to go into social work, and then I was thinking, okay, maybe family law. I'm like, no, corporate law. So it switched a couple times. You don't really know what you want to do when you're in high school. Even though I had a job in real estate, I didn't want to work in real estate. So I feel a lot of the times people think that school kind of guides you, but it actually doesn't. you kind of have to go out and do things that you love and kind of figure out like where you want to go from there, which is what I ended up doing. I basically spread my wings. I worked in insurance. I worked in real estate. I worked at law firms. I even worked at daycares and camps. So working with kids wasn't for me.
Right.
Yeah.
What were you kind of feeling in that moment, though? I mean, you're working all these jobs. You're in first year. You realize you don't really want to go into that field. You switch it up. What's kind of like the mental state there? Because you're probably under the impression everyone around you kind of feels like they know what they're doing. Like they're shit straight, but you're probably kind of in a mental state where you're like, yo, I'm still confused.
Honestly, the people that I was around didn't really know what they wanted to do. I felt like everyone around me was super confused. The girls that I grew up with, they actually stuck with what they wanted to do. I don't know if they're happy. We don't really ask each other, but I was very confused. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, should I switch my program? Is real estate for me? At 18 years old, am I ready to just like, because that's the legal age to get your real estate license. I mean,
right.
Am I really going to push myself through? Like, how am I going to show people I'm 18 years old, I can sell your house, I can sell $2-3 million homes? Like, who's going to trust me, you know? So maybe I'm going to wait till my early 20s. I was extremely conflicted.
Right. That's such a mental barrier, especially, entering such a niche where it kind of feels saturated to a point, and you're that young. You may be feeling like you're also a woman. So, there's a stigma where you may be getting downplayed as a woman as well that at that age. I mean, how did you kind of like overcome those challenges to be able to take that next step and actually go back to real estate and pursue that career?
So that's another thing. Obviously, this job is considered male dominated.
Right.
And to prove yourself to men that you're actually more than just a pretty face, or, you actually know something about the profession, the trade, it was difficult for me. But once you show someone, listen, like I'm more than just my looks, and you show them how smart you are, you put together investment portfolios and you show them all the deals that you've done, that changes for you. But it sucks that as a woman, you have to work extra hard to prove yourself to other people that you could do the job just like a man can. That's always going to be a problem. Even like law firms, it's the same thing. They treat women like crap.
Right.
So
what's kind of like the challenge coming up as a young, a lady that's maybe attractive? I mean, I don't feel it because I'm not that, obviously, but obviously you have the viewpoint as in you're not getting taken seriously because, all you are to maybe some people is looks. So what's how do you dig yourself out of that perception of you?
So I'm happy that at this point in my career, I don't get it as much as I did in the beginning, but it was very annoying. In the beginning, they're like, yeah, showings, but can I take you on a date first? It was like trying to turn a professional relationship into an actual relationship, like a romantic relationship. So I had to break that. And thank God I'm really stuck up, and I'm like, back off. I would tell everyone that I'm engaged. I still do.
All right.
I'm not, but I tell people that.
They always say that, man. But okay, so let's take it back to when you first get your license. Yeah. You're kind of going through the phase where you don't know where to start. You kind of have previous experience working at Remax. Mm-hmm. So what are you kind of doing to, take those next steps and to show you're, not just a young, pretty female? So
I worked actually at 3 brokerages. So I worked at Remax, Forest Hill, and I worked at Sutton Group. I've been with Sutton Group since I was 17, and they're like my family, so I plan on staying with them. But the steps that I took when I first got my license, I didn't need any training. So I was ready to go. I did my first deal in the first 2 weeks, and I was great from the beginning. People struggle in the beginning, and it's really sad to say. Like, I feel bad even saying it because I know it's still hard for people after 3 years, but I've been doing very, very well, thank God. But I put in a lot of work. I'm extremely consistent.
Right. I mean, first deal in 2 weeks, that's a lot of newer agents' dream, you would say. I mean, people don't want to go out there, cold call, door knock. It's draining. The rejection's draining. But I'm sure you obviously went through a point where you did endure a lot of that too. Mm-hmm. So where did that stage kind of come into play, and how did you kind of overcome that? So
I'm going through that now.
Okay.
Because the market's weird. I haven't done a deal in a month, and that's weird for me. I might be doing one in the next week, but it's like a lease, and I'm supposed to come out with a listing, but it's pretty slow right now. You can't let that discourage you, though. I still go door knocking. I went yesterday. I still cold call all the time. I follow up with all my leads and all my past clients all the time, and you have to do what you have to do. You have to be consistent, because eventually, if you're going to go door knocking for 4 months every single day for 6 hours a day, you're going to get a listing. But even when you get listings, like especially in this market right now, things are not selling.
Right. You know, to be able to portray in those acts, like obviously cold calling, door knocking, as a woman, do you have to kind of tap into a different like dominant mindset to be able to go out there and put yourself out there with confidence? Does that come a little less in terms of female nature?
You definitely do need to, talk with confidence, look at them in the eyes, speak like you know what you're talking about. You have to know what you're talking about. Obviously, that's where confidence comes from. But if you have confidence, you have everything. Right.
I've obviously interviewed a couple other realtors on this podcast, and I've had a woman that came on and she went door knocking while she was pregnant, and then I have a woman that came on and she was getting stalked through her marketing. Like that happens, I guess. Obviously, right. So you mentioned before, people are trying to take you out on dates after you do deals and stuff like that. I mean, the boundary in a business relationship and a relationship, why is that important for you to stand in the middle of and make sure none of that happens?
Well, there's a lot of people that say that there's girls that sleep around to get listings, and you could have a very big following on Instagram and you can be very good looking and people can make those judgments on you even though it's not true. I mean, I've been offered 6 houses to sell in exchange to pleasure a man.
Right.
And I have to come out and say that. Like I don't care to come out and say that, but it's wrong. And we're trying to build an actual career for ourselves, something that I can eventually pass on to my kids. Like, who are you to disrespect me like that? You know what I mean? Like, I work extremely hard. I won all those awards because I'm consistent. I actually work super hard. And it's kind of offensive when someone comes out of nowhere and, degrades you like that.
Right, totally. And I can totally understand that from your point of view if you're out there putting in the work. But obviously, there are women out there that may use their body to get certain places.
Yeah.
Is there any downfall in that, or is it kind of like, you do you? Like if that's how you're gonna get through it and make it, then like all to you.
I mean, it definitely makes us look bad as women.
Right.
I do not agree with that. I mean, yeah, do you? That's cool if that's how you choose to make money and you choose to use your body instead of your brain. That's you. But knowledge is power at the end of the day.
Right.
And I'd rather people acknowledge me for my brain than my body or my face,
And,
so.
I've seen your content on TikTok. You're obviously putting in the work. Like, you're advertising your knowledge is what I'm trying to say. And that's obviously a huge part of building a business. I mean, can you kind of touch upon the importance of sharing your knowledge instead of sharing like your body, for example?
So I actually go on TikTok and I post myself like with my hair in a bun, no makeup. Like I'm not on there looking 100% all the time. And I do that for a reason. So people take me seriously. And I get a lot of rude comments sometimes like, oh, you gained weight, like from men. It's all for men. It's never for women. But I built a really big following, and I try and touch up on everything. Staging, mortgages, interest rates, capital gains, basically the economy, inflation, all that stuff. And it's gotten me pretty far because I got a lot of clients from social media, and I feel like that's really important. I've always been big on social media. Like since Instagram came out, I was on there. When TikTok came out, I was there, even Vine, all that stuff. And I'm like pretty famous from it,
Yeah, it's intriguing because a lot of people actually, they go through like a mental barrier on actually being able to put themselves out there.
Yeah.
And you're a young woman, so that's still probably was hard to you in the beginning, but it seems like you went past that and were able to just, produce content in massive amounts because you knew that's what you had to do. Can you kind of touch upon the mental state and putting yourself out there to the world?
I was always comfortable with it. Yeah, I'm like, I deserve to be on TV. I need to do podcasts every single day because I want people to hear what I have to say. If it's about life, if it's about real estate, business, anything like that, like empowering other women. I get so many messages from women on Instagram every single day. Hey, I want to work with you. I want to be like you. That's the goal.
Right.
Like they're not messaging me because I'm like posting naked on Instagram. They're messaging me because they think that I'm smart. And I love that. I feel like I actually made it, Right. You need your own podcast, right?
I
need my own podcast.
We need to think of names for Danielle's podcast, guys.
Yeah.
Let's put some suggestions in the comments. But where you are now, we just went through, say, 2 years of COVID. I mean, you can say it's still going on. Who knows what's happening these days anymore? But obviously that was seen as a huge negative in kind of a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
Oh no, we can stay inside. There's nothing to do. But that actually affected real estate in a very positive way, you could say.
It did. It really
so
did.
How was your business kind of prior the COVID? And then kind of once we got more into the pandemic, how did it kind of change?
So I was still busy before COVID.
Right.
The first few months of COVID, when everyone was scared, it was a little bit dead. People didn't want to leave their house. But then I became so busy. So 2021 was actually one of my best years.
Damn.
Yeah. Like end of 2020, 2021, yeah.
When did COVID start? I don't know when COVID started.
Beginning of 2020.
Okay.
Obviously, like, it wasn't that busy then because I was even afraid to go to the grocery store. I wasn't planning on going anywhere.
Right.
And then everything just changed. People got so bored, they started buying real estate. I'm like, sure.
So, like, where were you at then? You're probably thinking, yo, there might be a drought. Like, I don't really understand what's going to happen at a time like this.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, houses are going up like crazy for crazy amounts of prices. I mean, I don't really understand fully why that happened myself. I'm not sure if you can kind of explain that.
I mean, I don't think anyone knew what was going to happen.
Right.
Right? Because usually in the spring market, summer market, it's super busy. And then in the winter, it's dead. And it's been like that forever. That's just basically the trends of the real estate market. And it was weird because the winter was just as busy as the summer. And then sometimes the summer was dead. So I think everyone was super confused. And then realtors were out there trying to talk about how they know what's going to happen next. But they didn't. And they don't.
I can't lie. I want to touch on that because there's a lot of realtors that, you know, like, they're talking about the market conditions.
Yeah, they shouldn't.
You don't know technical analysis, guys.
Yeah, you don't. Even people that study it don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, there's a whole bunch of fundamentals that just your average realtor doesn't know comes into play when it comes to talking about markets. Like, I'm not going to talk about if there's going to be a thunderstorm changing the weather soon, you know, like.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I give my opinion on the market. But I'm never going to be out there and be like, this is what's going to happen for sure.
Right.
Because I don't know. And I don't want people taking my advice on something that I have no clue of what's going on.
Right. And that's a huge key difference. I mean, just putting out your opinion to people and other than stating this is what's going to happen, because when you say this is what's going to happen, you lead people onto false hopes, maybe false moves that they're making in their own personal life. And that can lead to financial loss, which is big. I mean, I think I saw you post something on your story actually where there was a builder.
Yes.
What was that all about?
So there was a project
Right.
with an unknown builder. I forgot the name, but I don't want to say it out loud anyway.
Fuck them.
Yeah. They basically, they didn't have a license to build. And they came out and they're like, let me see your license. They're like, no, like, I don't have it. Or I don't know exactly what happened with the story. I read the article about the couple talking about how they lost 150 grand.
Wow.
And they were going to use that money to retire, and now they have nothing, you know?
That's crazy.
Yeah, someone that sells pre-construction, I always, like, introduce projects to my clients with known builders.
Right.
Like, you're not going to lose a deposit, and they're also not going to come after you for, you know, extra money because they don't have the financing.
Right. I mean, it doesn't even go through my mind how someone can start building out of nowhere. Like, I could just go somewhere and start building, I guess, if I want to get a penalty, obviously.
Everyone on Instagram is a developer now.
Right.
They have a Mercedes, they have a phone. I'm a developer. I build like one home a year.
Right.
Yeah.
But you usually work in pre-constructed.
I do resale, I do pre-construction, and sometimes commercial. I work in commercial, yeah.
Right. So obviously you're kind of in like a couple specific niches you'd rather work in than others. Is that important for realtors to kind of determine their niche?
I mean, you should always stick to one thing and just work really hard at it, but I have different types of clients. So if I have a client that wants a pre-construction project, you know, and then they want to assign the sale, that's another deal, right? Resale is my bread and butter because I've done more resale than I've done pre-con, but I slowly started getting into pre-con, I think at the end of 2021 more. And yeah, I've been selling projects and it's great. And I work with a platinum agent and she's incredible.
What's platinum? Is that just...
It's basically builders, they work with a certain amount of realtors and they give them allocations.
Okay.
So, you know how every real estate agent's like, I have platinum access, I have VIP access. Okay,
right.
You don't. There's only a certain amount of platinum agents that have that access that builders give it to because they know and they're guaranteed to sell them. So if you have an agent that's very, very known and they sell a lot of real estate, like more than 100 homes a year, the builder probably knows that agent, gives them, let's say, 20 allocations, right? So they will sell that either through their office. Sometimes the builders will give them a whole building to sell. So I work with a platinum agent who's been around for, you know, more than 30, 40 years, and all the builders know her. They put her on a pedestal. She's incredible, and she guarantees my clients units every time. They're always put, like, on the at the top. They're on the pedestal, top of the pedestal. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. How does a young woman go about forming those connections? Because I assume if you make a connection with a pretty known, reputable builder, then, you know, that could change your whole career. So how did you go about making those connections?
So it's actually really important to me to get into pre-construction because I want to prove to builders that I can sell out projects. Obviously, they'll see my name. They'll see, oh, wow, like this girl knows what she's doing, and eventually come to me and be like, you know what, here's your allocations. And I've been slowly getting into that. Like, you know, people already, they know who I am, which is great. I obviously started building connections when I first got into the real estate industry. So think about it. 15, meeting people, exchanging business cards, hi, I'm Danielle, Facebook, Instagram. I added everyone always because I always knew, you know, if I do get into this field, I know a bunch of people. So I know builders, I know some builders that can call up and, if, you know, no one can get me an allocation for a certain project, I can, you know, see if I can get it. But it's pretty competitive in pre-construction. It's hard. It's very hard because if you're not a platinum agent, they don't look at you.
Right. And this is a diamond agent, platinum agent right here.
I mean, soon I'll be at the top, like all those platinum agents, but it's going to take some serious work. Like all those platinum agents have worked super hard. I know a lot of them, and they've been like hustling for 14 to like 20 years, nonstop working, no vacations, no time for their kids, their family, nothing.
Right. So, and in all seriousness, I mean, you really were putting in the work since you were 15. So you really started to see that snowball effect maybe earlier than other people where you were able to put yourself in more, say, valuable positions. Now, we've talked about kind of the importance of relationships with third parties. What about with other realtors? I mean, how does it work there with you?
Wow. So I love other realtors. I talk to a bunch of them on like Twitter threads and TikTok. There's like a community of TikTok realtors that are known. I'm one of them. And we all talk amongst each other and on Instagram. And I talk to a bunch of realtors every single day. They are my competition, but I support every single one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And competition. I mean, I look at other people with podcasts and I like, obviously it's competition, but I support them as well.
Exactly.
Why is competition important?
Well, every single day there's a new agent.
Right.
Everyone's getting the real estate license because everyone thinks that they could do it. So in the beginning it bothered me, and then I actually thought about it. I'm like, there are so many crappy agents out there that make me stand out, and that's exactly why you need competition.
Right.
Yeah.
Because other people are just doing it wrong and you can do it right.
Exactly. And I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing, and people trust me and they come to me. They've been coming to me for years, and they want to take my advice. They believe the things that I have to say. They support me, and I've always surrounded myself with realtors that were super successful. So all my good friends that are older than me, and I'm talking about like more than like over 35, 40 years old, who you surround yourself with is super important. So people that, you know, make over $1 million in commission every year, those are the people that I'm around, because those are the people that, they are my competition, but I learn from them. Do you know what I mean? Right.
Was there ever a point where, you know, to be around those, you know, those valuable people that are out there making tons of money, or maybe they just have the connections, whatever it may be, was there a point where you had to cut off some, say, loose threads in your friend group or whatever to actually be able to, you know, be fully induced into that?
There have been people in my life that, you know, even before I was licensed, that I figured were, you know, not good for me. I did cut a few people out of my life out of jealousy, just even for my lifestyle. You know, people that I've dated didn't support me, good friends that I thought, you know, truly supported me and loved me, that I had to cut off. And it's unfortunate. But you know what's so crazy? When I first got my license, the owner of the company looked at me and he's like, be careful, like, you're great and you're going to make good money fast, and you have to really watch out who you're going to be around, because they're not going to be who you think they are. I remember him telling me this. He's like, you're probably going to get an assistant in the first 6 months. And I didn't believe him, but after the first year, I got an assistant.
Wow.
Yeah, I did really, really well. And he's like, people will change around you. Even family members did. So
how hard was it to actually just take that next step in terms of, hey, we had some good memories together, but it's time that I'd go do my own thing, and, you know, we part ways?
Not hard for me at all. I cut people off like it's nothing. Yeah, when you're in a business like this, like a sales business especially, you don't give a shit about nothing.
Right.
I don't care what anyone has to say about me. I don't care how you look at me. I don't care if you don't like me. I don't care if you complain about my content. I don't give a shit about any of you.
Right.
You don't like me? Bye. I don't care. If you don't support me, bye. Like, I've had the same friends for many years, and I support what they do. If they're more successful than me, good. Like, I want to be around people who are more successful than me. But if you're going to talk shit about me, or you're, going to make fun of what I do, or you're not going to believe in me, I'm cutting you off. I don't even let them explain themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, once you're in a position where you're around, say more certified people, especially in your niche, you're up there with the high end people. How did that influence you? I mean, because obviously you're in a situation now where there's people probably smarter than you talking all around you in your ears. That obviously changes your mind in some way and how you think and go about things.
So that always bothered me because I always like being right. And a lot of them had to sit me down. They're like, Danielle, just like listen to what I have to say. Like, I'm not trying to like be rude, but I just want you to take my advice because this is going to better you. And I was like, no, like, I'm doing it the right way. You're not doing it the right way. But once I actually sat down and I actually listened to what they had to say, I did evolve.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was the flaw there? Because obviously there's a flaw in maybe your own personality or whatever that was making you, neglect what other people were saying because you wanted to be right. So what did you have to change? What did you notice there?
So there was a few times I started posting about politics.
Oh.
And my friends were like, like, you don't want to do that. Like, you're in a sales job. You're in customer service. Don't get yourself involved. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I want to talk about what I believe in. And if someone doesn't like me, then I don't want to work with them either. But I eventually stopped because whatever, I'm just going to stick to posting real estate and that's it. Unless it's something that really, really bothers me, I'm not going to post about it.
I think you should start again.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know. There's just something about, a different power and just being able to speak what you truly believe in. I mean, whether I agree with the person or not, if I'm going through my stories and I see someone say something, like, kudos on you. You were able to actually put your face to the camera and say it with your chest. And I think that's probably one of the most respectable acts that someone can do.
Well, a lot has happened in the last 2 years, right? With like Trump, Biden, the vaccines, the mandates, now the abortions.
Right.
So there was so much for me to touch up on.
Yeah.
Just wanted to talk about everything.
No, I'm right there with you. I mean, all I'm going to say is fuck Trudeau.
Fuck Trudeau. And I'm a full-blown conservative Trump fan. Not saying that I'm anti-abortion. Right. But I feel like, no one should make rules when it comes to women's bodies anyway. But yeah, full-blown conservative over here.
Right, and that just goes for anyone's body. I mean, through all of this, the one thing I always said was when I was born, I was given one thing at the very least, and that was my own body. Yeah. And whatever I do with it, that's my choice. And whatever you do with yours, that's your choice. And I respect what anyone wants to do in any type of category with their own body.
Yeah, that goes for the abortions and the vaccines.
Right.
You have no right to tell anyone to do anything.
Right.
If you don't want to be my friend, if I'm not I am vaccinated, but if you don't want to be my friend because I didn't want to get the vaccine, that's on you too. I just respect everyone's decisions. I'm so open like that.
And, it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. I mean, we could just leave the conversation at that. You do you, and all's perfect. I mean, why should anyone be worried about what anyone else is doing? I mean, that's just weird. Like, we're in this life to kind of be focused on ourselves and do what we want to do. I mean, it just cuts down on your freedom in a way where it's like not freedom as in I can't go outside anymore, freedom as in I don't even own my body, right? Yeah. I mean, especially I'm sure for a female, if she feels unsafe about her own body as well, that's a big no-no.
I know.
Right.
Like, you can't decide if a woman should get an abortion or not. I just don't think it's like a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you have your own real estate group?
I do.
And is that a team?
So I only have an assistant right now.
Okay.
I've had many people reach out saying, can I join your team? Lots of young females, which I love. Slowly, I'm thinking end of 2022, I'm going to start writing up contracts with my broker of record, getting into that hiring people. I'm going to be very specific with who I want on my team because I obviously want sharks like myself. But I'm getting there. Yeah. Eventually the dream is to build my own team here, have it basically run, and also in Florida.
Right.
Yeah, I love Florida.
Why Florida?
It's one of my favorite places. Yeah, I've been 4 times since January.
Okay, I've never been to Florida. I guess.
Freedom. There's freedom there.
So I heard.
Yeah. There's lots of freedom there, and no one questions you if you don't want to wear a mask or not, and everyone's lovely. Way nicer than Canadians. Usually people say that Americans are meaner, but I don't see that. to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I really haven't spent much time in the States to even be able to talk on that and how people kind of act. But I guess I can say is what I know is that Southern Ontario is kind of the most relatable place in terms of the States, just because we're kind of the closest out there. I mean, I'm not sure how they're acting out there in British Columbia and Nunavut and shit like that, but I would assume we're much closer than, you know.
We don't really have any special places in Canada, I don't think. Not the way the United States does.
Special places as in,
like, where do you really go? Like, if you wanted to move out of Ontario, like, where would you go?
right.
Would you go to, like, Nova Scotia, Alberta, BC? Like, Florida's the place to be. If not Florida, then New York. But yeah.
And I guess that with the place you want to reside, I guess it just comes down to personality. Would you agree? Or
yeah. I mean, I didn't think Florida would be for me. My friend was going there quite often, and I didn't understand why she was so depressed every time she came back. And then when I went in January again, because I haven't been since I was 18 at that point, I'm like, wow. Such a different life here. The realtors in Florida are also so chill. They walk around in flip-flops. They're not wearing suits.
Right.
You know, like, they're very just chill, and the weather's green. Everyone's in a good mood. And there's just more opportunity, I feel, there.
now, why is that? In terms of realtors are just like downplaying their appearance, like acting more chill, and then here, you know, it's suit, tie, I'd assume, right? Or
I feel like my theory is that the realtors there are like a little bit more lazy. I mean, we work in blizzards.
Right.
So if I moved to Florida, I would want to work every day. You know, I've worked in the worst weather conditions. I've been in like almost really bad car accidents. I've slipped. Haven't been able to open lock boxes because they're frozen, you know? So, I mean, I feel like I would thrive there. And all my friends that live in Miami, they're like, you would kill it here.
Seriously, I never really thought how just like we are Canadians and we do work through those harsh winters where you really don't even want to go outside. It's cold. Then, you know, there's people just chilling out there like this is their day to day and nice sun, hot weather. I mean, I think they really probably take it for granted.
They do.
They should spend a winter here.
They should. Like, I wake up super early just to go to the gym, even when it's freezing cold outside. They wouldn't be able to do that. They'd be like, screw it, I'm just going to stay in bed.
Right.
You know?
Is the gym an important part to your life?
So I recently got back into it.
Okay.
But it's been a while. I was super busy with work, so I had no time to really go to the gym. And then I realized that the whole balanced lifestyle wasn't really working for me because it was all work. And it's bad because that affected my health in really, really bad ways in the beginning of 2022. So, you know, now I wouldn't call it a diet. I'd call it a lifestyle. So now I'm back to eating clean, going to the gym, doing hot yoga again, and I feel great. Yeah.
There's a certain power in, I guess, in having your days planned, but also there's a certain power in having your days planned in a way that works for you.
Exactly.
Personally, I wake up at like 12 and I stay up till 4 a.m., 5 a.m. and then I go to bed and repeat the cycle because that's just what works for me.
Exactly.
Like, I don't want to be up in the morning hearing the birds chirp. I'm not a morning person, first of all. Really? Don't talk to me in the morning. But I don't know. That's kind of just my personal stance. I feel like it's just whatever works for you, stick to it and go with it. And, you know, good things should arise from that.
I'm definitely a morning person.
Right.
Someone actually just asked me that on TikTok today, and I did a whole video about it.
You took their comment and made it into a video?
I've replied to so many because there's so many people that reply to my stuff. They're like, hey, can you please respond to me? I'm like, sure. Yeah, so I make some time in my day. I'm like, I feel so famous.
Right.
Yeah.
They just want Danielle to respond to their comment.
Yeah, I love them. I love my TikTok family.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the hate? Because I'm sure you get hate.
I don't give a shit.
Right.
I don't care about anything. Yeah. I get a lot of hate. Some guy called me fat like 3 times in a row in the last week.
Right.
He's like, wow, you're getting chubby. I'm like, true. I liked it. Yeah, I don't care.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not one thing someone has said that really just got on your nerves. Because Drake actually just replied to a comment that got on his nerves and like...
Did he?
Yeah. I noticed it. It was just like corresponding with this.
Yeah.
Someone said something about his kid in the comments and Drake like responded back. He was like,
well, yeah,
I just followed your wife.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would snap if someone said something about my kid. That's understandable. The comments that do get to me sometimes are did you give a blowjob for that listing?
Right.
Oh my God, I go crazy. But I remember I replied to someone's comment and I was just dying of laughter. I'm like, you are such a clown. I'm like, it's so funny how all the negative comments come from men and not women. Like, what do? You just sit at home?
Why do you think that is?
I feel like, well, this opinion might offend some people.
Your opinion.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of men are very feminine nowadays, and they sit at home with no motivation, and a lot of women now have become the men. And I feel like because of that, they're butthurt about it. So they're on trolling female entrepreneurs on TikTok, on Instagram. And I've spoken to other female realtors, business owners on TikTok, because we all talk, right? And we get comments from the same type of people.
Right. No, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, men have kind of shifted into this position where we're just focused on women's looks and, you know, trying to get laid and shit like that, when we're not actually focused on our purpose and doing things to put ourselves in a position to, you know, get the things a man truly wants.
Yeah.
And you have women now that are the prize because the men put them as on a pedestal. And, you know, women don't want to be with a bum. I mean, right?
No, we don't. And all successful men that I know, and all my guy friends are successful. Like, obviously, I told you, I mentioned that I surround myself with good people. They don't focus on sleeping with all these women. They don't even message girls. They don't reply to their stories. They don't sit there, like, watching porn all day. Their purpose is to make money and to be successful, and then find a woman to hold them down that's going to support them.
Right.
And that's how you get far in life. And it's the same thing for women. Women that work super hard need to be with a confident man who's okay with her going out and working hard. A lot of guys are offended by that.
Right.
They want her to stay at home so they can have control over her.
Right.
We don't want that. Times are evolving. Things are changing. You want to raise your daughters to see that, you know, women can actually do shit now.
Right. This is a question I have for you. With that, with, you know, women being built up by themselves nowadays, kind of, you know, honestly having more power than the guys.
Yeah.
And do you feel like that if you were a woman with say a husband and you felt like you had more power in the relationship than him, how would that make you feel? I
don't think that money should identify as power. If a woman is making more than her man, but her man is still trying, he's still working, and I think that you should be equal. Right. You know, his money, her money, it's all the same shit. If you're getting married, you're having kids together, you have a house together, you share everything. You share the responsibilities. Just because she makes more money doesn't mean that he should be doing the laundry. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that everything should be equal, and that's going to lead to a healthy relationship. Does a woman get turned off in any way by doing some of the things a man should be able to do and do for the woman? Like maybe just like handyman work or something of that nature. Sometimes that could be an issue in a relationship, because we have our roles. Like, it is what it is. A man should be a man and a woman should be a woman. Like, I'll come out and tell you that, you know, my parents, when they had difficult times, and my dad, you know, lost his job, for example, my mom had to work 2 jobs to take care of him. He was still the man. You know, while he was figuring things out, he was still like the alpha at the end of the day. So that's the type of household that I grew up in. My mom supported my dad when he was down, and vice versa. Right. Now, there's a thing that goes around, you know, men don't show their emotion, stuff of that nature. What's kind of your thoughts on that? Because for a man to truly, you know, be perceived as the alpha, and of that, he kind of has to maybe hide his emotions in times where he's around people that, you know, need to lean on him. How do you kind of feel on that? So, just because a man wants to talk about the way he feels doesn't mean that he all of a sudden becomes a beta. You know, I think communication is so important. I think that a lot of the reasons why relationships fail is because, number one, people think they have a lot of options when they don't. Like dating apps, for example, you feel like you can break up with your girlfriend and, you know, go screw someone the next day. Right. Especially for women, like all men think that I have so many options. Like, oh my God, your DMs, this, that. I'm like, you have no idea. I talk to no one. But, you know, talking about the way you feel is actually extremely important. That doesn't make you a beta. I actually respect men that talk about how they feel in certain situations. If you're not going to communicate, you're going to bottle things up and you're going to blow up on each other, and then you're just going to go separate ways. What if they, you know, kind of lean on you with their emotions too much to a point where you're starting to feel insecure in them? Like if they're too emotional? Yeah. I've dated someone who was too emotional, and it was a lot for me. I wanted to cheat on him. So yeah, that's a problem. Okay. That answers the question. Yeah. I mean, you need to hold yourself down to a certain extent. Like, you have to be the man. It is what it is. The woman is the woman. She's supposed to be the one with majority of the emotions. Like, that's just the way it is. Yeah. It's crazy when we get deep into this, because it's really just people hate it. Right. Oh my God. Like, women can be whoever they want. Men can be whoever they want. Who are you to say anything?
Yeah.
It's a very sensitive topic to a lot of people, and a lot of people will not agree with me saying, oh, like a woman can do a man's job and a man can do a woman's job, but just stick to what it was.
Right. Because, back in the day, the divorce rate and stuff of that nature was less.
Yeah.
And now, with social media and all of these, people thinking they have options, like you said, people are acting on emotions and not truly understanding what they really have. Therefore, you have, tons of broken relationships. You have single moms with kids that are trying to, make way for themselves and their kids. And that's a really, daunting task to even think about, even as a young man. I mean, I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to be, a young woman who has a baby and, the father left them and stuff. I mean, I'm sure, that is a possible doing for women, because obviously it happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
So, that is like good shit. Like, I could not imagine doing that as a man. And that's why I think women are very important in a way of, caregiving and stuff of that nature.
Of course. But now women aren't as nurturing, right? Now it's like turning around. The men are more sensitive. The men are more feminine. The men are more emotional. And it's just a weird time.
So what do you think men should do?
Well, focus on your purpose. Stop jerking off in your basement. Be an alpha. Just be a man. Like, stop looking at women and pinpointing what they're doing and just focus on yourself. I think what everyone needs to do is just focus on themselves. Everyone's so into other people's lives, and that's the problem. I've personally made the mistake of thinking that I've had too many options in one point, and I lost a really great relationship that, I regret. But it is what it is. You move on from it.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, totally agree with you. Danielle, it was a huge pleasure to have you come on the podcast and just chat it up.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I mean, guys, that was episode 35. We had the lovely Danielle Levy come through, spit some knowledge, some game for all the men, to be honest. This girl put out game for you guys, so you guys can do what you want with that.
Yeah, don't hate me.
Don't hate her. All of her stuff's down below. Go check out her TikTok. She's very knowledgeable in real estate, as you can see. But other than that, guys, every Sunday, 5:30 p.m., I will see you guys. Peace.